Pep Guardiola invented football again, not in a single match or a single season, but through a slow, relentless reprogramming of how the modern game thinks, breathes, and reacts. And at Manchester City, this idea has reached its most complete form, because what Pep has built is not just a team, but an operating system, where every movement has meaning, every pass has consequence, and every opponent is forced to play a game they did not prepare for. When people say City dominate possession, they miss the deeper truth, which is that City dominate time, space, and decision-making, because Guardiola understood something fundamental, that football at its highest level is no longer about moments, but about control, and not control in the traditional sense of keeping the ball safely, but control as in dictating what the opponent is allowed to do and when they are allowed to do it. From the first minute City begins shaping the pitch, the center backs spread wide, not simply to build play, but to stretch the first line of pressure. The goalkeeper becomes a central organizer, drawing opponents forward like bait. The defensive midfielder positions himself not where fans is before it even begins, because they are chasing shadows that were designed to exist. Guardiola's City erase fixed positions. Fullbacks drift into midfield not randomly, but to create overloads that force opponents to make impossible choices, either follow and open space wide or stay and concede control centrally. Midfielders rotate constantly, not to confuse teammates, but to exhaust markers. Attackers drop deep, not because they lack thread, but because they are pulling defenders into zones they do not understand. And when the space appears, City strike with ruthless simplicity, a short pass, a cutback, a tap-in, and it looks easy, which is the cruelest part for opponents, because what looks easy is the result of hundreds of rehearsed patterns drilled into muscle memory. Guardiola teaches his players to see the game the way he sees it, as a puzzle that can always be solved if you remain patient, brave, and intelligent. And this philosophy is why City can face a low block and dismantle it without panic, or face an aggressive press and play through it without fear, because Pep does not believe in reacting. He believes in imposing his idea until resistance breaks. When teams tried to press his Barcelona, he added midfielders. When they tried to sit deep, he added width. When they tried to man-mark Messi, he removed reference points. And at Manchester City, this adaptability has reached an extreme level, because the Premier League is a league of specialists, and Guardiola has systematically dismantled them by attacking their strengths rather than avoiding them. Against high-pressing teams, City slow the game down, drawing them forward and then cutting through them with one vertical pass. Against defensive teams, City stretch the pitch to its limits, forcing fullbacks into impossible distances until gaps appear. Against physical teams, City move the ball faster than bodies can follow, making strength irrelevant. And what separates Guardiola from every other elite coach is that he evolves before opponents fully understand what they are facing. Just when teams think they have solved City, he changes the structure slightly. A midfielder becomes a false fullback, a winger becomes a touchline holder, a striker becomes a decoy, and suddenly the old solutions no longer apply. This constant evolution is why City dominance feels suffocating, because it removes hope. Opponents do not just lose, they feel taught a lesson. They feel like their preparation was meaningless because Guardiola had already anticipated their plan weeks in advance, training his players to recognize triggers that most fans never notice. A defender stepping half a meter forward, a winger hesitating for a second, a midfielder turning the wrong way, and in that instant, City attack, because Pep's football is about exploiting human error at industrial scale, turning small mistakes into guaranteed chances, and this is why critics who reduce City's success to money miss the point entirely, because money can buy players, but it cannot buy understanding, and Guardiola's genius is that he turns elite footballers into thinkers, players who understand space, tempo, and geometry at a level that makes the game look unfair. City do not rely on individual brilliance, even though they have it. They rely on collective intelligence, where every player knows not only his role, but the role of every teammate around him, which allows the system to survive injuries, form drops, and rotation, because the idea remains stronger than the individual. Guardiola has always believed that the ball moves faster than any player, and at City he has built a team that trusts this principle absolutely. They recycle possession not out of fear but out of confidence, knowing that every extra pass increases the probability of a mistake from the opponent. This patience is what breaks teams psychologically, because defending for long stretches drains concentration, and once concentration drops, City pounce and score, and then control the game even more ruthlessly after taking the lead, which is why comebacks against City feel so rare, because they do not retreat, they suffocate even harder. Guardiola's pressing structure is equally revolutionary because it is not based on chaos or aggression, but on angles and anticipation. City press in waves, cutting off passing options before the ball arrives, forcing opponents into predictable patterns that lead straight into traps. This is why turnovers happen in seemingly harmless areas, and suddenly City are attacking a disorganized defense with numerical superiority. And once again, it looks simple, but it is not simple, it is rehearsed genius. Guardiola has taken concepts from futsal, positional play, and even basketball spacing and adapted them to the Premier League, creating a hybrid style that is both beautiful and brutally efficient. And the most remarkable part is that this style has proven sustainable over multiple seasons in a league designed to destroy consistency, because City do not rely on emotion or momentum, they rely on structure, and structure wins leagues. Guardiola demands perfection, not as an ideal, but as a habit. Players speak about training sessions being harder than matches because every detail is scrutinized: body shape, passing weight, positioning when not on the ball. And this obsession creates a culture where excellence is normal and anything less feels unacceptable, which is why City rarely collapse under pressure, because pressure is their daily environment. Pep has also mastered squad management, rotating players without disrupting rhythm, because roles matter more than names, and trust matters more than reputation. And this environment attracts players who want to improve intellectually, not just physically. Footballers who want to understand the game deeper and become part of something larger than themselves. And this is how Guardiola has quietly influenced football beyond Manchester City, because coaches across Europe now copy his build-up structures, his pressing triggers, his use of inverted fullbacks, and his emphasis on positional play. But copying the shape is easy, copying the understanding is not, and that is why most imitations fail, because Guardiola does not teach positions, he teaches principles, and principles adapt to any situation, which is why City can win in different ways: dominating possession, grinding narrow wins, controlling big matches with surgical precision, or overwhelming opponents with waves of attacks depending on what the game demands. Pep's Manchester City are not static, they are alive, constantly adjusting, constantly learning, constantly evolving. And this is why it feels like he has invented football again, because he reminds us that the game is not solved, it is not finished, it is not limited by tradition, and every era has room for new ideas if someone is brave enough to challenge what everyone else accepts as normal. Guardiola challenges defenders by refusing to give them fixed opponents, challenges midfielders by overloading their zones, challenges attackers by asking them to think before they run, and challenges fans by asking them to appreciate control as much as chaos. And the result is a team that feels inevitable, not because they always win, but because they always know why they win. And this clarity is the ultimate advantage in elite sport, where margins are tiny and confidence comes from understanding. Guardiola has turned Manchester City into a footballing university, where every match is a lesson and every opponent is a test. And through this process, he has once again shifted the boundaries of what is possible on a football pitch, proving that innovation does not always require speed or strength or even new rules. It requires ideas, courage, and the willingness to rethink everything you thought you knew about the game. And that is why Pep Guardiola did not just build a great team at Manchester City, he reinvented how football can be played, how it can be controlled, and how intelligence can dominate power. And as long as he keeps questioning the game, football will never stop evolving.